Hello everyone, I hope you like food Pokemon, because boy do I have a sweet treat for you with this video, which is going to be like a buffet full of them. It's actually kind of funny because I personally am not a fan of food Pokemon. In fact, I've only done a handful of them for my previous Fakemon regions, but I actually had a blast coming up with them for my Brazil-inspired Zonhe region, as food is just such an important part of Brazilian culture. And it's also important to note that these are only a handful of the food Pokemon found in the Zonhe region. There are plenty more, you'll just have to wait and see, but I am beyond excited to show you these ones. I wanted to start by thanking all of you for your support of the Zonhe region, especially my Brazilian followers. It's been so unreal reading all of your positive comments, and so exciting just to see how all of you are liking the region so far, and how excited you are for it. Especially as most Fakemon regions are done by Brazilian artists, and there are just so many amazing Brazilian Fakemon regions already, so I knew I would have a lot that I'd be compared to off the jump, which is why I really wanted to put my own spin on it, and do things as creatively as possible, and just make the region as fun and colorful as possible. So I'm really glad to see that that shows, and you guys are resonating with it so much. I truly just love how passionate and proud of your culture all of you are, as you should be. It's so versed and beautiful, and really inspired me while working on this project, and you have no idea how hyped I myself am for this project. Like, no idea. This is the most fun I've ever had working on a Fakemon region or project for that matter. Also, please don't forget to support all of the incredibly talented artists I commissioned and had the pleasure of working with in this video to bring all of my ideas to life and take you on these exciting journeys through my imagination. I actually wanted to work with more Brazilian artists for this project, as there are just so many of them in the Fakemon community, many of which are just good friends of mine already. So this was just the perfect opportunity to feature these artists. So please go make sure to give them your support, because both of them are also doing amazing Brazilian Fakemon regions as we speak. So if you want to scratch that itch while you're waiting for the Zonhe region, please make sure to check out their regions. I promise they will not disappoint. Anyways, this little treat of a video will act as a first course teasing some of the delectable food-inspired mons found in the tropical Zonhe region, such as the previously revealed Armadillo, inspired by armadillos, and the famous Brigadeiro chocolate in Brazil, with a hard chocolate shell covered in sprinkles, which it leaves behind as it rolls around. I've seen a lot of Fakemon creators do the whole soccer ball or Pokeball approach for the Brazil Fakemon regions, so I really wanted to deviate away from that and do something unique, and I've never seen this approach before, and since food is such a big part of Brazilian culture, I thought this would be the perfect way to do that while still honoring the culture. This sweet little Pokemon is the first stage of a 3-stage evolutionary line, which is actually one of my absolute favorite lines and concepts of the Zonhe region. So I can't wait for you to see its evolutions. As well as Lolly Hop, which was featured in my latest Pokemon Legends video, alongside Armadillo and Sweet Fairy type specialist, Dolce, as her ancestor Tumo was introduced in that video. Dolce is a skilled Pokemon trainer and baker who likes to make sweet desserts and candies, having already made a name for herself in the kitchen, as she even has her own bakery / candy store, which is huge in the Zonhe region, as well as her own viral cooking show. But don't let her sweet appearance fool you, she's a spoiled little brat, and when she doesn't get her way, she will throw a huge tantrum. Anyways, Lolly Hop is one of her Pokemon, and it is a sweet fairy bug-type Pokemon inspired by Brazil's tree hopper and its unique crown, which I decided to turn into a bunch of colorful lollipops, with its wings resembling a big lollipop as well. And this is the final evolution of a 3-stage line, so you'll just have to wait to see its first 2 stages, Sugrub and Sweetle. Zonhe even has some regional variants inspired by Brazilian foods, such as Zoinian Bonsweet, inspired by Brazil's acai berry, now being a dark type, referencing this berry's dark bluish purple coloring, as well as the fact that raw, this berry tastes extremely bitter and tart, with what many people describe as hints of dark chocolate and blackberry flavors. And this line's sassy personality, which will become a lot more apparent in its evolutions, which take even more inspiration from the acai tree's beautiful branches, which I thought resembled braids, which braids are a very popular hairstyle in Brazil, and often worn by one of Brazil's most famous pop artists, Anitta, who also kind of inspired this line, as she is just such a badass. And one of my personal favorites being Zoinian Grimer and Muck, inspired by a famous Brazilian cuisine, a stew made up of pork and beans, hence the subtle pig-like elements I wanted to incorporate in its design. But despite its stew-like appearance, this Muck variant is actually made up of mud. You know, cause pigs roll around in the mud, with chunks of mud or dirt made to resemble the beans or chunks of meat in the stew, or even its pig-like nose. Both of these variants were done by a good friend of mine who once again is a Brazilian artist, and this was actually my first chance working with him on Fakemon, so it was such a pleasure to do so. He's just such a cool guy, and he really just nailed it. Some other fun food-inspired mons I've yet to reveal, done by a Brazilian artist, a good friend of mine, JJ Mons, who I've had the pleasure of working with countless times now, is Bananer, inspired by a couple tropical bird species native to Brazil, such as the cute little tanager, who also inspired its name, as well as the aracari, whose unique beak inspired its banana beak, with some toucan vibes as well. It is the first of a 3-stage line, which will take even more inspiration from other Brazilian birds and tropical fruit, eventually donning the famous Carmen Miranda fruit hat in its final stage. Speaking of fruit, there's also the Patagon line, inspired by the popular pitaya fruit in Brazil, more commonly known as the dragon fruit, hence the dragon typing. Yes, I know, so original. Look, I'm sure I'm not the first, as just about anything with dragon in its name has been turned into a dragon-type Fakemon, but it's all about the execution, so to give it more personality, it has a more derpy appearance, kind of like Dragonite or Goodra. However, it is not the pseudo of the region. It was also given more Stegosaurus-like spikes, as the spikes of the fruit kinda resemble them. And as adorable as it is, just wait until you see its first stage, it is even cuter. And last but not least, we have Gelatopod, inspired by slugs and gelato, as ice cream is huge over there, and I didn't want to do a regional Vanillite, as I feel that's a bit overdone, especially in the Brazil-inspired Fakemon regions at this point. Plus, it's not like Pokemon hasn't repeated concepts before, but I wanted to put a unique spin on it by giving it a variety of colorful forms based on Brazilian ice cream flavors, some of which are just so wacky and fun. All of these forms are obviously just aesthetic, just like Alcremie and Vivillon, but they're still fun and just kind of fit that colorful vibe of the Zonhe region. And its body obviously resembles a spilt ice cream cone, with its shell being the ice cream cone itself, aka the sweet fairy side of this Pokemon design. And it's important to note that this is a single stage Pokemon, but you'll just have to wait to learn where to catch this Pokemon in the Zonhe region. I worked with the phenomenally talented Tubbs AZ on these two lines, and while he may not be Brazilian like the other two artists, that's not a make or break thing for me, as he is one of my favorite artists in the Fakemon community, as his glossy style is just so iconic and works so well with the colorful anatomy of the Zonhe region and its themes. I hope you enjoyed this video and a sneak peek at all of these Zonhe Pokemon. Please let me know what you think, which is your favorite, in the comments down below, what else you'd like to see in the Zonhe region, and of course make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future content. I'll have at least a couple more teaser videos like this before I actually start posting the Zonhe Chronicles here on YouTube and my Instagram, including the Dream Merge contest video revealing the winners of that contest. So if you wanted to participate and haven't had the chance to do so, please do so soon. Or if you haven't heard of it yet and you'd like to learn more about it and the rules, please make sure to go watch that video or message me on Instagram for more information. I've got some amazing submissions so far, and I look forward to seeing